live or in replay. I'm Vivandrada O'Flynn, your host and Global Media Relations of World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive, also known as WHD, is an international NGO founded in Croydon, UK, by British Indian global peace activist, entrepreneur, writer, Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed. The primary vision of WHD is to promote peace, education, and trade harmony initiatives globally among everyone across the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or nationality, living as one family. This Inspiring Millions show is your show too. As always, we encourage you to engage and interact with us. Please help us spread inspiration to the world by sharing this link. It's going to be an interesting discussion today, so put your questions that you would like to ask our honorable guest, Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah of Malaysia, or comments that you have for us in the chat box. We will read them later on in the show. Let us also know where you are watching this. Wherever you are in the world, let us keep you company and brighten your day as we share peace, love, and goodwill. It is World Wellbeing Week, with the world battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Looking after one's mental health and well-being is now more important than ever. We are indeed very fortunate to have with us in this episode a multi-awarded, highly recognized social worker, Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah of Malaysia, to shine the light for us to take better care of ourselves in these times. Dr. Florence is the founder, president, and volunteer of SNEHAM Malaysia, a nonprofit org that is the first Tamil crisis helpline for those lonely, depressed, and suicidal. SNEHAM also actively engages in promoting mental and emotional well-being and suicide awareness campaigns in Tamil, Bahasa, and English across Malaysia. Dr. Florence is also the board of director of Penang Women Development Corporation, executive director, management consultant, lecturer, facilitator of J&J Tech Consultancy, former HR director at several MNCs, diversity advocate for Talent Corp Northern Region. Dr. Florence delivers captivating messages of hope, courage, and perseverance, having personally lived through the journey. Her real-life experiences and eloquent storytelling moves people into action. In addition, she gives them the tools they need to stand up to any challenges at workplace. For her contributions in management and community service, Dr. Florence received several international and corporate awards and continues to be passionately involved in the field. Recognizing her dedication and contributions to the community and women leadership development, Dr. Florence has received regional and international awards, including 2020 Stars of COVID awarded by World Humanitarian Drive. And she has also gained awards in 2012 Outstanding CSR Leadership Award awarded by Intel, and also a 2017 Lifetime Achievement Award and World Women Leadership Award awarded by Golden Globe Tigers Award. And in 2019, she gained Darja Setia Pangkuan Nigeri DSPN awarded by Penang State Government. Let's all welcome Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah. Selamat datang, welcome. Terima kasih, thank you for being with us here today. How are you today, Dr. Florence?
Hello, Eva. Very good afternoon to you and to everyone over there, and a wonderful evening to friends and viewers watching this interview live in Asia. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction and warm welcome. I'm actually truly honored to share the screen space. Being the 21st speaker in Inspiring Millions series So thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And I actually wanted to, take this opportunity to record my deepest appreciation. Firstly, to the founder and chairman of WHD, Dr. Abdul Bashir Said, all the members in WHD worldwide. This is the perfect opportunity for me to say thanks to everybody for the award that we received last year. And also a very special thanks to our esteemed WHD Global Operations Head, Sarah Wilson, and the most respected WHD Global Head for Malaysia, which is Professor Dato Dr. GP Durai, and also to you for extending me this invitation to be here, to be sharing, what we do, what I do in Malaysia. So thank you so much.
Terima kasih. Thank you so much for joining us today. So could you please introduce yourself to the world, Dr. Florence?
Yes, it's an honor. So you have done a beautiful introduction about me. So I thought, let me fill in some additional details of what I have done, am doing, who am I, what are my passion and interests. So as you mentioned, right, I am the founder, president, and also a volunteer. I also volunteer at SNEHAM Malaysia, which is a non-profit organization aimed at prevention of suicide. So supporting a community in various capacity has always been a part of my life since young. And about 15 years ago, I chose to formally associate with a suicide prevention NGO. So, and at that time I was still working. So I've decided to join an NGO and volunteer part-time. So during the time when I was volunteering there, so besides volunteering, I took up, an interest to drive awareness campaigns. So one of the mega campaign that I am proud of till today is in 2012, I managed to secure a grant, a CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility grant from the company that I was working for. And I launched a suicide prevention campaign known as Know the Sign Youth Suicide Prevention. So I actually carried out this campaign in the state of Penang, where I'm from, covering about 16 schools and 3,000 students. So this suicide awareness campaign draw a lot of media attention. And, because it was first time someone actually run a huge mega project talking about suicide among the young people. So besides that project, another interesting project that I worked on is in 2016. I had the privilege of working with a software solution company to develop a tool to retain call data. So whenever we have calls, it was saved manually. So I worked with the engineers from that company, really literally telling the work that we do and translate that work into digital. So the tool was fully funded by the company. They were great supporter of my work that I do, and it was implemented in 2017. In the same year, 2017, I received an invitation to be a speaker about the work that we do, suicide prevention work that we do at Istanbul. So invitation came from Istanbul, Turkey. So they were facing some challenges, extreme challenges extreme challenges involving high suicide rates among refugees. So they wanted to learn from different countries what are the practices. And they actually wanted to also set up helplines that will be managed by mental health professionals. So I took back a lot of learnings from that experience, and even became more convinced that my work is more important and that I should carry on what I'm doing. And the tool that I mentioned that we implemented on, call data retention, it has very special features that I know of because I was part of the design team. Not actually in the technical part, but the content development. So what I did was I did a pilot project on using the data. I did a pilot project coming up with what I call solution-based approach to suicide prevention using technology. And this paper I presented at Befrienders Worldwide Conference in Vilnius, Lithuania in 2018. So that conference also was a wonderful opportunity for me to network with a lot of volunteers across the world who were doing suicide prevention work. And they also liked what I was doing. and there was a lot of opportunities on cross-learning, and that is something that I'm also proud of. So in 2017 itself, I was toying around the idea of, going local with these helpline services, providing helpline services in local languages like Tamil Bahasa. And so I started SNEHAM. So part of the reason was also because there was high number of psychosocial issues and suicide rates in the Indian community in Malaysia. So I wanted to reach out to this Tamil-speaking audience, and also Malays too, because these two communities rarely use helpline services. So that was part of my reason for setting up SNEHAM. So besides my non-profit work, as you've mentioned, I also serve as a board of director with PWDC for the past 5.5 years. PWDC is actually Penang Development Corporation. Yeah. So PWDC is a state government agency that champions the interests and representation of women in economy, politics, and also socially. We come up with policy development, advocacy, and capacity building. And I like to call out some of the accomplishments that PWDC have done in the state of Penang. One of that is, of course, gender inclusive policy. The gender inclusive policy is also observed in the public sector, in the state government. They have a quota of 40% women, 40% men, and 20% is anyone available for the opportunity. So Penang is the only state that has the gender inclusive policy. Besides that, the state also has a safe family policy, which has many constructive measures to stop violence against women and children. And apart from that, there are also programs like empowering grassroots women to address community issues that affect them. And the other significant accomplishment is they've embarked on an initiative to build the bench, 30% representation of women in politics. So these are wonderful achievements that Penang Development Corporation is doing. And also they have institutionalized what I call that GRPP, gender response budgeting. So these are things that, very different in the state compared to other parts of the country. So professionally, I was an HR director before. So now what I'm doing is that I'm a freelance lecturer, instructor. I facilitate master's and doctorate programs for several institutions of higher learning. Besides that, I also am a trainer for soft skills, leadership, management, human resource modules, and do take up some speaker assignments. So prior to my retirement, as I mentioned, I was an HR professional for over 30 years. I had the opportunity of even serving as an expat in Bangalore for 3 years. Then when I came back, the following year, I had an opportunity to go to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. So all these experiences, gave me this confidence to carry out whatever that I'm doing today, having worked not only in Malaysia, but outside Malaysia. So during my career in HR, apart from the full spectrum of HR work, I had the opportunity to champion several niche projects, I would say, like corporate ethics and integrity, very, very niche projects, and then diversity and inclusion, anti-discrimination, harassment, and also like legality and fair management, fair employment practices, which involve complex investigative work. I've also had a large-scale restructuring and separation of employees from the company, especially when there was business downside. So all these skills were very, very niche skills, and was very involved in those areas that are part of the programs that clients today request me to share in my lecturing that I'm doing part-time. So while I was also working full-time, I went back to school. This is after I had 4 children. I was working. I went back to school to complete my master's in management. I did my PhD, and also after that, I pursued my master's in psychology. So all these studies actually helped me to be effective in discharging my responsibility and was very instrumental in my steep career growth. So on a personal side, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 4 wonderful children, 3 boys and a girl. All my children are adults, 3 of them are married, and my daughter is single, she's in London. They all also have established a very successful careers. 2 of my sons are engineering, the rest are doctors in medicine. I have 3 amazing grandkids. Their ages are 11, 8, and 28 months. My husband owns an engineering consulting company. He understands all of the things that I do and I'm passionate about and has never stood in the way. The other thing about me is that I'm ethnically a 3rd generation Malaysian Indian who had a very humble beginning, I would say. My parents were from the rubber plantation. If you know the history of Malaysia, you know, there were migrants from India who came and worked in plantation. My dad was 2nd generation, I'm 3rd generation. My father, Mr. Sinniah, was in charge of a small estate, and they called him Thunder. And my mom was a rubber tapper in the same estate. My father's name is Mr. Sinniah, and my mom is Madam Parvati. And living in times of war, economic hardships, they never had the opportunity to attend school. So unlike my mom, who was unable to read and write, my dad actually self-taught himself with the help of elders. So he was fluent in Tamil, English, and accounting. So if I'm here today speaking to all of you, I owe that, privilege and honor to be here to my parents. If not for them, I don't think I would be here. So my dad actually is a visionary. He felt very, very strongly that his children and grandchildren should, be educated. So he felt strongly that education is the only pathway to free his children and grandchildren from being enslaved as laborers in the plantation. But that did not mean that they kept us away, so that only my parents worked and we were not exposed to what they do. So what happened when we were young was my 2 brothers and I would spend our school holidays and weekends helping our parents in the work that they do. So we learned to value their hardships. Being with them and watching them, the type of work they did, we learned the value of hardships, their sacrifices, and every ringgit they saved to keep us in school. It mattered a lot to me. And watching my dad, he's one person who had a huge impact on me. He wasted no time on unproductive work. He planned his schedules. He had very exemplary people skills, and he was very socially conscious person too. So I learned valuable lessons personally and professionally watching him. And till today, most of my decisions in life carried my dad's perspective on how a problem should be handled. I'm so proud to actually acknowledge my dad as my first leadership guru. And he always emphasized so much on education, and he also taught me that to look beyond the present, and nothing is impossible if you put your heart and soul into wanting to achieve. And I carry that advice that he gave me when I was young till today. And the other thing about my dad was that he treated his children as equal. They were like my brothers. I had 2 brothers, my sister and I. So boys and girls were given equal space at home, and we were allowed to. We were granted every opportunity to do what we wanted to do. So I didn't experience any gender inequality when I was growing up. And thanks to my dad, he was a different person. And if today I stand very proud as a woman who have accomplished whatever she wanted to do, I would have to pin that badge of honor on my mom. Being a working woman herself, I watched how she balanced her working life as well as family. And my mom's biggest contribution in my life is being my pillar of support for me to help achieve my goals. She provided the support system that I needed, by caring for my children. Her presence at home, kept allowed me to work in peace. I don't have to worry about children because mom was there looking after the kids. So with her being around, I was able to go back to study again. I was able to take up international assignments, go on business trip, and I was able to make huge strides in my career. So if not for my mom, it would have been very difficult for me. So although my mom was illiterate, she beamed with pride every time I woke up, to receive my scrolls, my master's and PhD. Wonderful woman. She's no more, but she was instrumental in me being who am I today. And the other thing about me is that when I was a child, I actually wanted to serve in the field of medicine, to be a doctor. And this was probably, shaped by reading many historical personalities who made major medical breakthroughs when I was growing up. But when I grew up, I realized that it's very, dreams can be expensive to pursue. I knew my parents would do anything to make my dreams come true, but I felt that it was not fair to impose a huge financial burden on them, especially when they were aging. So I decided to be realistic, and I opted for a different career option, an alternative career option with the good grades I had in school. So looking back today at the journey of my life, I'm proud to have made that call. So no regrets. Even though I didn't become a medical doctor, I pursued my PhD, and I still am a doctor. But not only that, I have a family of doctors, 4 of them in my family who are in that profession. And one more thing that I actually wanted to share with everyone here is that my name is a bit unique. Especially, my name is Florence Sinniah. Manoranjan is my official name. It's actually a name of a flower, which is yellow and green in color, which has got huge medicinal value. It is being used in treating blood diseases and asthma, antiemetics to stop vomiting, itchiness, and all that. Huge medicinal value. And the other thing about that flower is that it has an intoxicating fragrance. So the essential oil in the flower is used to, produce popular perfumes, and one of that is Chanel 5. So that is about me and all of the things that I have been doing. And I'm happy to take any questions that you all have about the work that I do.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. We feel that we know more about how remarkable you are as a person and your family as your inspiration. The world is facing many challenges now with COVID-19. And Dr. Florance, we're grateful that there are people like you who do the work that you do. So could you tell us about the COVID situation in Malaysia, and what are the activities that you've been doing during the pandemic?
Yeah. So Malaysia, like every other nation, is also battling with this COVID situation. And in May 2021, we had the highest number of cases reported, which was, I think, on 29th of May, we had 9,020. And we are still observing, movement control as of today, till date. And now we are trending at about 5,000 cases for the past three days. I was reported about, I believe, over 700,000 cases, 717,000 cases, and about 600 odd cases cured. The death toll is around 4,700, around that range. So all these figures, even though it's smaller compared to bigger nations, for a small population like 32 million in Malaysia, this is actually alarming. So the government is doing everything they can in asking us to stay away, stay at home. They have stopped all economic activities, only essential and food businesses are allowed to operate. We are still observing all the standard operating procedures related to movement control, social exclusion, wearing masks, sanitation, and all of that. It's being done. There's also a massive vaccination drive. So the nation is looking at getting at least 80% of the population vaccinated by end of this year. So that is happening. Well, the other thing that we especially those who are advocates of mental health, trying to talk about is the impact, the silent impact of COVID on the mental health of everyone. So while the country focusing on the disease, containing the disease spread, this silent impact of COVID is already being seen. Especially, a couple of days ago, there was a press report that the Penang state, where I come from, they have 53 cases death by suicide and 19 cases where, of incidents of a failed attempt. So 53 people died by suicide and 19 have failed attempts. So this is worrisome, and I am not surprised by these numbers because I've been operating helpline services since MCO started March 2020, and in 2020, for that entire time frame, we had about 988 calls, and 45% of that calls, the caller have expressed that they have suicide ideation, which means 45% is quite a number. Express suicide ideation and having suicidal thoughts. So this is an area that requires a lot of attention, and we hope apart from helpline or NGOs, we also want the government to do something about reaching out to people who need medical help and assistance. So I can say more that when I talk about what we do at SNEHAM.
Okay, Dr. Florence, we're lucky to have you as our guest today, as it's World Wellbeing Week. It also gives recognition to professional practitioners such as you, Dr. Florence, and also it shines a light on charities and social enterprises working with well-being. So many of our viewers want to know if you have any well-being tips for these times. What are your well-being tips, Dr. Florence?
Okay, I can actually talk about what I do instead of because I always believe that whatever that this change that you want to see in the world has to start with you, right? So even though it's movement control and a lot of activities are now confined to home, but I am still keeping very, very busy myself. Nothing has changed. It's the only thing that physically I don't go out, but I'm conducting a lot of lectures and training, via Zoom. So what I can share that is that you can always look at alternative options of what to do, like especially when for example, my lectures, now that I can't go physically, I still carry out my lectures virtually. So quickly I had to learn out the fundamentals of using Zoom, and I've started learning that. And of course, the other things that I like to share with people is that, the first thing, of course, everyone is caught by surprise why we have to go through this, acknowledging that, everyone is in this together, right? So come to terms with the situation and stop whining, and let's see what we can do about it. So, cut down on your, TV viewing time. And if looking at news that it's causing you some worries, stop doing that and focus your energy on things like exercise, which is good for you, adequate sleep, good diet, meditation. If you know how to do some meditation, go for a walk, write a journal. If there's something is awfully depressing you, write down a journal. These are some tips that can help everyone. So good to also talk to a person, any friends that you can confide if there are things affecting you emotionally. Talk to a friend, talk to a relatives that if you have, or call us at SNEHAM and speak to us. Because different people manage challenges, stresses in life differently. So for one person, they are able to take charge of the situation. They can manage themselves. There are others who can be deeply affected and may feel overwhelmed and lost. So so if you are experiencing all of that, acknowledge first that I am going through this, right? Sometimes I think that's the first step, acknowledging that this situation is deeply affecting me. And then once you acknowledge, then you will think about what aspect of the situation am I being, I'm struggling to cope with. So if it is like worried about the number of deaths, worried about the number of cases globally, and if it's because of watching a lot of news and all this news are, frightening you, maybe you have to do something about watching this news and then use that time proactively, go and take up some online courses, there's plenty of online courses, talks, in YouTube's. This all can help every one of us.
Yes, and also, Dr. Florence, on your Facebook account, you also share inspiring messages, baking and cooking recipes.
Yeah.
So, we've got a question here from Tongi Gra. So, how do you prevent or detect early risk of suicide among young people? What are symptoms that we have to look out for?
Okay. I can share my experiences, from my school outreach programs, where SNEHAM, besides doing helpline services, we actually go out to schools to conduct workshops, and sometimes we let the students do some surveys. And from the surveys, we pick up students with high scores and talk to them. So usually what these children will tell us that some high scores means we conduct a very simple survey, depression, anxiety survey. So when we talk to them, they always tell that they're not interested in studies. Either someone is bullying them at school, or they are stressed with a lot of schoolwork, or having to juggle with schoolwork and other activities, and sometimes being compared by their parents from one sibling who's doing well versus another one. There's a lot of things that they tell us, and the disengagement in studies means their grades start dropping, and giving reasons not showing up for school. And I've also seen some children who actually engage in self-harm, which is they're so angry with themselves, they hurt themselves. And all of these things, that all it takes that if you talk to them, and they will start expressing what they're going through. But most of the time, I think parents are all busy. They don't take notice of these issues, and the children suffer in silence. So sometimes they call the helpline as early as 10 years old, have called helplines and talk about what they are going through, and they share their pain with us. So I encourage parents, while they work very hard to support their children in terms of education and providing them the best in life, also encourage them to look into the mental health of their children, talk to them and find out if they are being, if something is bothering them, someone is disturbing them in school. So spend some time and talk to them.
So, how do we support someone with mental health issues? We just support them and talk to them? What are the things that we have to do?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is that talk to them first, to find out. And then once we talk, the extent of the situation that they're suffering. Now, some situation requires professional help. And if it requires professional help, even when we deal with any children with, mental health issues, if it is biological, if it requires, professional help, we tell the parents to take them to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. If behavioral issues, a psychologist. If it's a medical condition, mental health, mental illness, then they would go and see a psychiatrist. And, SNEHAM is also supported by a team of medical advisors. And sometimes after talking to a call, which, have symptoms of maybe, it requires professional help, I've discussed with the doctors, and reach out to the person, if it's parent who is talking to me, to get help, to go and see a doctor and get medical help. Because talking is like, maybe they are upset, they failed the exam, and they're down that day, and they're worried about the future, overwhelmed by sadness, so they can talk to us, and that can help. and they're grieving because someone they loved or the pet they loved is lost, died, and they want to talk to us, that's okay. But if these symptoms continue on, then it really requires to take them to see the professionals. So, so it depends on case to case. So when they talk to us, we will know. And even in schools, when we go, if there are children who actually shared with us, they have attempted suicide how many times. So we'll talk to the school counselors. I think you need to highlight this to the parents. Maybe they are not aware, and the school connects with the parents and help the child.
Thank you. We have a question from our virtual audience. WHD Secretary General of Malaysia, Professor Dato Dr. GP Doraisamy. His comment is, despite your busy schedule, you had allocated time to listen, counsel, and advise mentally affected people with stress, depression, anxiety, and suicidal tendencies. This is his question. What are the qualities for a person to be an effective counselor for these kind of serious cases?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I have to thank Professor Dato GP Durai. He is also a patron of SNEHAM Malaysia. The basic quality that we look for in a person is empathy. Empathy in that individual, compassion, empathy, willingness to listen. So our volunteers, not everyone are highly educated. Some are professionals, yes. Some maybe we have one or two who are housewives, but they have this wonderful quality of showing compassion to someone, empathy to an individuals, and willingness to listen to them and help them to explore the feelings and connect with someone. So these are the qualities that we look for in volunteers. And of course, when someone signs up as a volunteer with SNEHAM, we do conduct trainings to share with them tips on how to be an effective listener. Not only that, the types of calls to anticipate what kind of people, what kind of issues people have who will be reaching our helplines. So we provide the 2-day training. And as they come in for service, they would be, mentored by a senior volunteer until they have the confidence to manage on their own. So we conduct volunteer training every year, and we do also refresher for existing volunteers. So I think every one of us can do this, not only volunteers at SNEHAM, everyone. Show a little bit of empathy towards someone who's closest to you, especially if there's a change in behavior. Let's say, someone is so happy and bubbly, and suddenly you notice this person is withdrawn and wants to be in the room all the time, prefers social isolation compared to, being around. Just ask, I've just acknowledged that I've noticed that, you've been keeping to yourself lately. Is there something troubling you? I'm always here for you. If you need to talk, come to me. So these are simple things that we can all do to reach out to anyone we see there's a sudden change in their behavior that we observe.
Thank you. We have another question from another virtual audience. Moses Blessing, as a psychology practitioner, can you foresee the post-pandemic situation in line with education sector? So how about when it comes to teachers, should they be trained in how to look out for the signs, like well-being, how to teach well-being?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moses, for this question. It's a great question that I was saying, as I was saying, right? Right now, the focus of every country is to contain the disease spread. I've been actually looking out, searching, Googling to find out, is there something that I can take away what other countries are doing with regards to the impact of COVID on mental health of individuals. Mental health of individual includes teachers who are required to teach students from home and having to juggle with managing their home as well as looking after their own children, and also even the frontliners. In every aspect of every aspect, people are impacted, but we have not heard everyone talk about what it is doing to them yet. So if we had, I'll be able to answer that. So far, I have not received any calls from teachers I've had some calls from frontliners, medical doctors in last year, which is 2020, calling up and talking about exhaustion, being very tired of being frontline, and there's no way out, just wanted to chat and talk about what they're going through. So I've spoken to medical doctors last year. I've had no opportunity for handling cases of teachers, but I do acknowledge that teachers are also stressed, and everyone in their respective professions are going through a lot of stress. I'm sure it is the case for even corporate people working in corporate companies with impending, threat, impending news whether the business will continue or there will be announcement of layoff. So it's a great question. Thank you so much. And I am actually on the lookout to see what we can do for teachers and everyone who are experiencing challenges in this current time. But as of now, we are only talking about how to keep yourself, some of the tips on positive mental health and how to manage the, coping with the current challenges, and what you can do to yourself, or if you can't, reach out to someone or call a helpline. So this is what we are doing, but we have not gone into very specifics of different professions. What are they experiencing and how can we help them overcome the situation? We haven't gone into that aspect as of now. So I won't be able to give a complete answer to that question, but I am on the lookout. Yeah.
How about when it comes to companies? Should companies also look after the well-being of their employees? And how can companies develop a well-being strategy for their staff?
Okay. In some multinational companies, like the ones that I've worked before, they do have like services to provide, to call 24-hour services to call psychologists or some mental health experts. Some companies do that, but those who don't, yes, it's also very important. One aspect of an area that companies need to focus on: mental health, mental well-being of their workers, because when someone is happy, only then the person will be productive at work. See, mental health is an integral part of health. So when you don't have mental health, you don't have health at all. So it's so important. So whether they are at work in corporate companies or anywhere, a person need to feel good within themselves. Only then you see that enthusiasm, the will to perform and even excel in what they do. So sadly, in our part of the world, I have to keep repeating this, that the focus is actually on containing the disease spread, because that's where the focus is. In every other aspect, it's not being paid attention to. But it's never too late. I hope anyone who's watching this from Malaysia or in any part of Asia, it's time to also look at, while vaccinating their workers, containing the disease, also spend some time on mental health programs. Companies can come up with those programs and look after their workers.
You've mentioned that a person needs to feel good within themselves. So what can you tell us about self-love, and how important is self-love?
It's very important. I always, when someone talks to me, I always ask them to look at themselves in a mirror. Every time when an individual says the world is very mean to me, everyone is unkind to me, people are doing things to me, it's like having this victim mentality. I often ask them, have you looked at yourself? Have you looked at yourself in a mirror? Do you love the person that you watch in the mirror? Because if you don't love yourself, right, then who else is going to love you? Because self-love is so important. If you love yourself, you won't allow anybody to hurt you. And if you love yourself, you will make sure that you eat right. You will make sure that you sleep well. You will make sure that you will go do things that you like. So this is how I actually talk to people, to make them aware that don't wait on someone to come back and love you. Start loving yourself more and start looking at, things don't work out, or, things has happened in the past, right? You cannot go back and undo, but the future is in your hands. What can you do about it? So this is how we take someone through looking at the whole issue differently. And it starts with first, the question I always ask, do you love yourself? Right? So self-love is very, very important. As I, when I preach about mental health to other people, I also make sure that I take care of my mental health, be it in observing all the SOPs for my personal protection, also the protection of my family members. I also want to make sure that I have sound mental health as well. So it also, involves me too.
Thank you so much for the valuable tips you're sharing with us. We have another question from Surya Kumar Arunanam. Sorry. To add on to Dato Dr. Dora's query, how do you ensure the volunteer social worker manages the emotional baggage attached? I guess this would have to do something about detachment.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And Mr. Surya is also a volunteer at SNEHAM. One of the very important aspect of the training we offer volunteers at SNEHAM, or in most helplines that I know of, is that while we provide emotional support to our callers, we have to remain detached. It's a caller's issue. We are there to listen to them. We listen to them. We are being there for them, but at the end of the call, you don't carry whatever emotions that they pass on to you, onto yourself. So it's kind of a skill that you develop over the years, that you connect, but you remain detached. It's so important. That's one thing that we teach our volunteers to be aware of. And the other one, what we tell them is, if they had a very troubling, talk to somebody. We normally have two persons on duty. Talk to the other person. How did the call went? How were they affected by the call? So by talking, at least they have offloaded whatever that is it's heavy within them. And as they leave the center, we tell them that that's it. Go home. Don't carry this with you. So it take a while for them to let go, and it's so important. And I do that too, because otherwise I can't really do what I'm doing if I continue to be emotionally affected by the many different challenges people share with me. So this is how we manage, so the welfare of my volunteers is also important. So if they find it, it's emotionally draining, if they need a break, we tell them to take that break. We allow for that flexibility as well.
So you properly train your volunteers to respond to calls. So congratulations on being awarded Stars of COVID by World Humanitarian Drive last year. And World Humanitarian Drive has a Science Bazaar initiative, and Science Bazaar is to empower outstanding talents by recognizing and encouraging transformative discoveries and supporting them to attain economic affordability. So how important is this initiative in these times?
Oh, it's definitely a great initiative. I can speak for SNEHAM. When we participated in the award last year, I was actually surprised, because that when you feel that when you participated in an event with so many, I guess there was about 1,500 or 1,600 people who entries to the Stars of COVID event award, and shortlisted 100, and shortlisted there were 100 winners, right? So what actually I took away from that award is that that what we do is worthy of recognition. That our work is basically behind the scenes, right? There are some social work that you can go publicly. People know that you're doing something for the community. It gets a lot of attention. But the kind that we do, it's it's answering calls. But the one who is benefited from our service will know how important our work is and how much it has made a difference in their life. So the kind of service we do, and we're getting this award, it actually endorses that continue doing what you're doing. So so I'm sure in every aspect of WHD's support of recognizing people in doing humanitarian work takes them a long way, and encourages them to continue what they're doing.
Thank you. We have another question from our virtual audience, Lalitha Ramasamy. So, greetings to all. Hello, Dato. My question, if a person seems troubled, is it safe to ask if they are thinking about hurting themselves? Can asking increase the danger of suicide?
Okay, thank you, Madam Lalita. And this is actually a very, very common question people have, that when someone looks sad, depressed, they talk about, I feel like, they of course say there's some expressions that I'm not interested in this, I'm not interested in day-to-day activity. They will say something, right? So if they are deeply troubled, we do ask questions like, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about, like committing suicide? We do ask that question. And generally people think that by asking that questions, are you seeding this thought into their mind? Actually, no. Sometimes, for example, people who are depressed may have suicidal thought. It would be a relief for them to say, yes, I am thinking about suicide. And it's like someone cares about me and wants to know whether I'm suicidal or not. So it actually gives them the relief to say that, yes, it has been crossing my mind for some time. And we go on to ask, okay, say more, so they will talk about their suicidal thoughts. And we do ask them, do you have a plan? And sometimes if they have, it's not just an ideation, they may also have a plan. They may have thought about, how they want to end their life. So asking that question is critical. This is one thing that we also teach our volunteers when someone is talking about, all of the things that's going wrong in their life. And sometimes they do have, do say things like, I want to sleep forever. I feel like, these are sleeping forever. What does that mean? That they don't want to wake up, So are you thinking about suicide? Are you thinking about hurting yourself? We do ask that question in the course of our conversation. So first, it's like if someone is being deeply troubled, talk a little bit more to find out what is the issue that they're feeling down, what is troubling them. And in the conversation, if they say words like, I feel like as I mentioned, right? I feel like going on anymore. I'm done. So those kind of things would tell you that they have something in their mind. So have that conversation first. Find out what are the things that they are saying, and then do ask this question. And many a times asking the question, it will be a relief for them because it has been going on in their mind. They've been keeping it to themselves. They've been going over this issue many times. By talking to someone, at least they know someone cares, and then they can have a conversation about why they are in that situation. What can the person who is interested to know about their welfare can do for them? Yeah.
So, talking about this topic can actually save a person's life. We have
Yes,
viewers.
yes.
Yes, and we have viewers from Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Yemen. So what can you tell people about Malaysia, and what do you love about Malaysia?
Oh, well, this is an advertisement for my country, right? So Malaysia, of course, we have many communities living here. They of course associate Malaysia as truly Asia. We have the Malay community, Chinese, Indians, and of course in East Malaysia, we have the Sabahans and Sarawakians. So many cultures live in this country, very rich in diversity. And also, the other exotic part of Malaysia is, of course, wonderful weather, beautiful beaches, and great food. Great food you can find in Malaysia. And everyone can speak English, so language is not a problem because it's an English speaking country, though we have Bahasa as the national language, and everyone is warm and friendly, and it's a great club, as I mentioned. Of course, when the travel ban is lifted, do come visit us in Malaysia.
Thank you for the introduction about Malaysia, for letting us know more about Malaysia. So could you also tell us more about SNEHAM Malaysia? And could you also please let us know how our virtual audience can reach you?
Okay, sure. I was actually waiting for that opportunity to talk about SNEHAM. As I mentioned earlier, right, we are a non-profit organization. And we started SNEHAM in 2018, and today it has grown to about 45 members. It is an apolitical, a-religious organization. We reach out to all communities in the country. And being a non-profit organization, our operation is funded from public donations and contributions. So this is how we run SNEHAM Malaysia, our operation. And our goal is suicide prevention. So to achieve this mission, we came up with strategic objectives. One of that is telecounseling, that we operate 24-hour service for those experiencing personal emotional challenges, feeling lonely, depressed, for them to call us, and we listen to them without judging. Right? They may be describing some situations, so our volunteers have been trained to not judge anyone for what they say to us. We provide emotional support. They may be describing about a problem, and we do ask them that, how does it make you feel? Or if they express something, you sound angry, do you want to say more? We want them to talk about the feeling. The feeling is the one that is actually hurting them so much. They're angry, they're lonely, or they're grieving. So we ask them to talk about, not the problem, but what is the feelings associated with the situation they are in. And, and at some point of the conversation, we do explore options with the callers in how to handle the situation. Our service is actually free. It's confidential. We assure them confidentiality. One of the things that, because of the stigma, talking about what's going on in their life, or even if they're experiencing mental health issues, is the stigma, associated with the condition. So they always ask, whatever am I saying is confidential. So we assure them it's confidential. And our services is, as mentioned earlier, it's offered in Bahasa, Tamil, and English. So we are the first helpline, and I believe first, a private helpline or a non-governmental helpline to come up with a toll-free service since the time we started. So apart from telecounseling services, we also provide, the second strategy we have is advocacy. We do a lot of awareness campaigns like promoting positive mental health, how to cope with challenges of life, create awareness about depression, suicide. We conduct workshops, talks in schools, in the community. So this is a great part of work that we do. And the last 2 years, it has literally come to an halt. But we've gone creative, as I mentioned, right? We have started using the technology and going virtual with carrying out talks to still continue to create awareness. But the sad part of it, it can only reach a certain, certain group of the community, the lower level people, like, who don't have access to these technologies. Social media may not be benefiting from the talks that they're giving. We're also aware of that. The third strategy that I have is collaboration. See, suicide is a huge public mental health problem. So SNEHAM or helplines alone cannot, address this issue. So we work in collaboration with other NGOs, government agencies on any areas that touches on mental health. Whether it is developing programs, awareness programs on mental well-being, or even we have partnered with state government in their initiative on stopping violence against women, like domestic violence. We are one of the support points for victims who are experiencing violence at home, domestic violence can reach us for help. So collaboration is one area. So the three things is tele counseling, advocacy, and collaboration. So these are the three strategies we do to ensure that proactively we do something that to prevent suicide. So that's what we do at SNEHAM. And as I mentioned, right, last year our call volume increased by 3 times, 988 calls. And I mentioned earlier that 45% of the callers express their suicide ideation and have suicidal thoughts. This year, as of May 2021, we have about 318 calls. And also around the same percentage of people saying that, they have no interest to continue living and these suicidal thoughts come to their mind. And one troubling fact that I have to share here is that a high percentage of those people who call us have underlying mental health issues. They either have defaulted treatment or the current situation has exacerbated their, had made their situation worse. And they reach out to us to talk to us because they are living with fear and uncertainty, and they are calling us. So that's one particular group. I've seen an increased number of people with underlying mental health issues are reaching lines to talk to us. So that's one group that I've seen. So if SNEHAM is where it is today, I owe my gratitude to all the members and volunteers in my organization who work shoulder to shoulder with me in championing this social cause. So they are people who, as I mentioned earlier, they are working full time, who would come in and volunteer in our center, and there are people who travel long distance to come and serve at our center. We also have a physically challenged person who fight her limitations by showing up for service. So many different people, all of them care about the community, and they want to reach out to do their fair share to to support people from not taking their lives. And the other thing I have to say thank you is to my supporters, donors. In times of this pandemic and economic hardships, funds and grants are very difficult to come by. Yet we do have one or two angel donors, who make a small contribution and still remain anonymous. So we do have such kind of, wonderful souls who do believe the goodness of a service. And all this is the reason that has kept us going in what we are doing for the people in Malaysia.
Thank you. We'll share the link also of SNEHAM later with this. So for our last question, Dato Dr. Florence, what is your inspiring message to the world?
Okay. So in all of the activities that I share, right, I'm very conscious about taking assignments that I can and I'm passionate about. And this, makes my involvement and motivation effortless. So my message to people is that, take up things that you really like to do. And the other thing is, mental health is, as I also mentioned earlier, it's a very integral part of our health, right? And that you don't have health if you don't have mental health. So it needs to be continually addressed. So I am making a call here that, mental health need to be addressed. So not just physical health, but mental health. It's not a shame if you're going through something. It's real and it's normal. I hope that this pandemic will bring some light, the need to have regular mental health checkups, and care for society becomes more inclusive, especially people, are more inclusive in accepting someone who is suffering from mental health issues, and don't stigmatize them and drive them to a point of hurting themselves or even ending their lives. And one other thing is that let's all acknowledge that we don't know what the other person's struggle is. I do know it's not a time to be hard on anybody, hard on people. because we don't know what someone is going through. So respect the fact that people are all going through something, and we have to handle each one with care, right? I think this is the time that we all can be kind and compassionate to each other. There are some people who are doing fine, they are okay, but others are actually broke and they're tired, they're grieving, they're unsure, they're scared, they're angry, sad, depressed, lonely, just holding on, to the last straw of staying alive. So those people need emotional support, and that's a reason why we are doing what we're doing. So if you can share your food, if you can share your shelter, or if you can even, share your time, what we do, we share our time, do that. And also, like, if there are job opportunities, and if you know some connection, help those who have lost their jobs. So in many ways, we all can be kind to each other and we live and let life. It's difficult time, but by being there for each other, I think, it will mean a lot to people who are in need.
Thank you so much, Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah, for honoring us with your presence, sharing your words of wisdom, expertise, and inspiring the world with your story. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah, founder, president, volunteer of SNEHAM Malaysia. We would like to share a quotation by our honored guest today, Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah. Life is a series of experiences built to develop our character. It's hard to remember this when you are experiencing a personal crisis. Everything may feel grossly unfair, hopeless, and bleak, but experiences, both good and bad, make who we are. Give your all to every experience. Feel it, breathe it, appreciate it. Nothing lasts forever. When it's gone, you'll remember the wisdom from your tough times. Often, what we perceive as an error or failure is actually a gift. And eventually, we find that lessons learned from that discouraging experience prove to be of great worth. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion with Dato Dr. Florence Sinniah and that it motivated you to care for yourself and your well-being. If today's discussion inspired you, please like it, share it, send us a comment. Click the bell so you'll receive notifications from us. Also, do share with us your takeaways from today. Follow us on our social media accounts. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel, WHD Media. Visit our WHD website, www.whd.org.uk, for more inspiring events. Stay safe and healthy. These are challenging times for everyone. Please remember to be kind to yourself and others. To our frontliners, we salute you. We thank you for your hard work, sacrifices, and dedication to humanity. Happy Armed Forces Week and happy International Day of the Seafarer. To all those celebrating their birthdays and special milestones this week, happy celebrations. Have a wonderful weekend on behalf of WHD team, especially those working behind the scenes. WHD Chairman Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, WHD Director of Global Operations Ms. Sarah Wilson, WHD's 12 Honorable Secretary Generals. We thank you, our virtual audience from around the world, for joining us. This has been World Humanitarian Drive's Inspiring Millions Show. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn. Please join us again next Friday. We will have a discussion with Dr. Fajila Azad, a life coach from India, as we inspire the world here on Inspiring Millions Show.